You have no idea of the true power a Dragonborn can wield.
Miraak is the first Dragonborn in the records of history, having once held dominion over Solstheim, and reigns as the leader of the ancient dragon cult. Miraak would seek out the teachings of Hermaeus Mora, becoming his champion, and would gain the power to bend the will of dragons. Upon turning on his overlords, Miraak became involved in a battle that would take a toll on the very landscape itself, and, after being saved by Mora, would eventually enter into a duel with the last Dragonborn at the summit of Apocrypha. Hey everyone, my name's Jeremy, and today we'll be exploring the story of Miraak, the first Dragonborn in existence. He was a man who disobeyed his dragon overlords, and was responsible for causing one of the most destructive battles in history, destroying the very land itself in the process. In his search for power, he was misled, as he eventually became entwined with Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, and eventually the last Dragonborn at the summit of Apocrypha. Despite his prominent role in the Elder Scrolls, we still don't have a significant amount of detail on his life, making him a somewhat mysterious character with many gaps to be filled in his narrative. In this video, I invite you to explore with me this unique soul and the unforeseen decisions that he made along the way. Decisions which would alter the course of history and guide him towards a different fate. But first, if at any point you notice you're intrigued by this topic, be sure to like the video. And if you happen to find yourself lost in Apocrypha, looking for more content like this, then consider subscribing. It would mean a great deal in supporting the channel. In the Merethic era, over 4,000 years prior to the events of Skyrim, dragons ruled over mortals, with Alduin reigning supreme over all. Dragons, known in their tongue as Dova, are the immortal children of Akatosh, having been on Nirn since the start of time and are specially attuned to the flow of time. They feel an innate urge to dominate others, this urge being near impossible to overcome, with only a select few ever being able to overpower it in all of history. In their mind, being powerful and being right are of the same meaning, and therefore they make no distinction between speaking and fighting, battles between them being deadly verbal debates. The dragons would use the Thu'um, the storm voice. Thu'um meaning shout in Dovahzul, the dragon language, and they would access it simply by raising their voice. The Nords of Skyrim would eventually learn to use the voice after being taught by Paarthurnax, the brother of Alduin and a dragon who served as lieutenant to the World Eater. These Nords capable of the Thu'um would be referred to as tongues. Despite their immortal nature, the bodies of dragons can be destroyed. Being defeated in this way will not truly kill them, and they will always be able to rise again. The only time a Dova can permanently be killed is when its soul is devoured by that of a fellow dragon. And therefore the only thing that can kill a dragon is a dragon. However, there is one exception to this. There are certain mortals who are blessed by Akatosh with the blood and the soul of a dragon, who are able to permanently destroy these beings. They are known as Dragonborn, Dovahkiin. These individuals are incredibly adept in the use of the Thu'um, as when devouring the soul of a dragon, these individuals also absorb the knowledge of their language, thus learning in a short time what it would take other tongues a lifetime of study and intense training to achieve. It is unknown where the dragons come from, with multiple sources stating different places. Some say from the continent north of Tamriel, where the Nords originate from, at Mora. Others refer to another continent, to the east, Akavir, a name translating literally to Dragonland, where the dragons, after almost being wiped out completely by the snake people of Akavir, fled to Tamriel. The men of Tamriel revered dragons because of their association with Akatosh, the dragon god of time. Under the leadership of Alduin, the dragons were quick to assuming power over them. Alduin, the World Eater, is a powerful black dragon, and the self-proclaimed firstborn of Akatosh, his name meaning destroyer, devourer, master. He is a figure who represents the end times, and his coming heralds the destruction of the world, the end of the Kaaba, and in turn the birth of another. However, during the Merethic era, in his arrogance, the World Eater abandoned his role in creation, straying from his path in conquering the Mundus, being consumed by his insatiable hunger for power and domination over the humans. Alduin would lead the dragons and subjugate the Atmoran population, forcing them into servitude and establishing a cult dedicated to the dragons. It was under this leadership that the dragon cult would be established. This cult emerged from the old Atmoran belief of animal worship, in which case dragons corresponded to the worship of Akatosh. This ultimately led to the dragons assuming positions as god kings over men. However, the dragons were not bothered with ruling, only seeking power and domination over the mortal men. As a result, the dragons gifted small amounts of their power to certain individuals, dragon priests. Individuals who dedicated themselves in servitude to the dragons, and ensured the obedience of the mortals to their dragon overlords. These dragon priests ruled over the men of Skyrim, their power being only second to the dragons, having been bestowed power and knowledge as well as dragon priest masks. Within this dragon cult was Miraak. His name, meaning allegiance guide, was the first dragonborn in history. Miraak served as the leading dragon priest within the dragon cult. As the dragons and their cult began to assert more influence and become more benevolent over the population, Miraak began to reconsider his faithfulness. It was not because of the dragon's tyrannical rule over the Atmoran people which led to these thoughts appearing. No, it was due to his hunger for power and knowledge that he could no longer sufficiently gain from his dragon overlords, which enticed him into looking elsewhere. In his greed, Miraak would seek out the teachings of the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, Hermaeus Mora, the riddle unsolvable, the door unopenable, the book unreadable, the question unanswerable.
All that he knows, he learned from me.
Hermaeus Mora is the Daedric Prince whose curiosity is insatiable. He seeks all knowledge, and not to change, but to observe, so that all becomes known. Mora is perhaps the wisest of the Daedric princes, and is one of the only princes to not take humanoid form, instead manifesting himself as black clouds of varied, grotesque masses of eyes, tentacles, and claws. His Daedric realm of oblivion is known as Apocrypha, a realm with varying landscapes, some with open fields with odd flora, others with an endless library of untitled books with black covers, where all forbidden knowledge can be found, and the crackling towers of learning mingle with the archways of despair and confusion. The realm is covered in a sea of ink and rolling tentacles, with Hermaeus Mora omnipresent over all. Hermaeus Mora would choose Miraak as his champion, teaching him the power to bend the will of dragons through the use of the bent will shout, which he could utilize through the Thu'um, his voice. It's unknown when Miraak discovered his dragonborn nature, whether it was revealed to him by the Prince of Knowledge, or if he was born with dragon blood and had used his abilities to rise the ranks of the dragon cult. Regardless of what transpired, Akatosh had gifted Miraak his blood, with the intention of destroying the World Eater and freeing men from their tyrannical overlords, but Miraak had chosen a different path. With his dragonborn blood and his newfound power of Ben Will, Miraak would turn on his winged masters, killing a great number of them. During the Dragon War, when the mortal men rose up against the dragons, Harkon One Eye and the others sought him out. Harkon was a Nord hero and a tongue, an individual capable of the Thu'um. He was one of the leading mortals in the rebellion and one of the first men to learn how to use the power of the voice. He would seek out the assistance of Miraak, the Dragonborn, as only a Dragonborn was capable of devouring the souls of dragons, and therefore was the only one able to defeat Alduin. Miraak refused, however, believing himself strong enough to defeat the World Eater if he chose, and left mankind to their own fate. Miraak was confident in this, as proven in the Dragonborn DLC, when he says to the last Dragonborn,
They wanted to use me to deal with Alduin, Hakon and the rest. I chose otherwise.
He believes that he was powerful enough to do this, as evident with his first encounter with the Dragonborn.
So you have slain Alduin. Well done. I could have slain him myself back when I walked the earth. But I chose a different path.
This would cause Harkon and the other Nord heroes to resort to using an alternative method to banish Alduin, transporting him over 4,000 years into the future, during the Fourth Era, merely delaying his return. Throughout his betrayal, Miraak would slaughter a huge number of dragons, his temple being littered with the remains of Dover he had killed, gaining more power with each kill. In doing this, he was joined by 3 other dragon priests. Azadal, Dukan, and Zakrisos would also oppose their overlords, becoming both Miraak's and Mora's most powerful servants, and would be known as Acolyte priests. His refusal to help the Nordic people earned him the name the Traitor by the Scour villagers, and he would be confronted by another dragon priest, known as Varlok the Jailer, a name meaning the guardian to the Scour people, a tribe of Nords living in a village in northeastern Solstheim. Varlok would uncover his rebellion and engage him in a duel. Despite Miraak being extremely powerful, having gained lots from Hermaeus Mora, as well as being the Dragonborn, Varlok proved to be very powerful. So powerful, in fact, that this battle would go down in history as one of the most destructive, even to the extent of ripping a large portion of Skyrim from the mainland in the process, becoming what is now known as Solstheim. Whether this event is described in truth, or if it is simply a myth recorded in the annals to glorify a battle, I will leave for you to decide. Varlok would be victorious in this battle, defeating Miraak, but right when he was about to deal the killing blow, Hermaeus Mora would pull his champion into Apocrypha, saving Miraak and essentially imprisoning him within his realm. Following the events of the battle, the dragons would raise his temple to ashes, after which Varlok the Jailer would be tasked with watching over Solstheim for any signs of Miraak's eventual return. Miraak would go unheard of for thousands of years, trapped inside Apocrypha. During his time there, he would relentlessly search for knowledge, hoping to someday find a way out. Apocrypha, however, is known to take a toll on those who stay there for too long, with some accounts suggesting of individuals turning into abnormal beings, with their search for knowledge growing into their enslavement. Miraak would not go unaffected, however, as the longer he was there, the more difficult it became to get his freedom. His Dragon Priest mask, which had been gifted to him by the dragons, could also have potentially been corrupted by Apocrypha, the realm reshaping it into a unique mask, separate from those of the other Dragon Priests, with this mask imitating the appearance of his new master. During his time there, however, Miraak would not sit idly by. He would utilize Mora's infinite library, seeking any and all knowledge he could use that would assist him in returning to the Mundus. He would remain there for several eras, slowly growing his presence until eventually being able to use his arcane powers to influence the people of Nirn. Miraak would assert his power onto the population of Solstheim, taking control of them and making them unknowingly work for him around the island, rebuilding his temple while they slept. He also exploited their use to build arches around the Stones of Power located on the island. These stones were supposedly created with the intention of maintaining the balance of nature on Solstheim. However, Miraak would take advantage of them, and attempt to use them with the means of harnessing their energy, and use them to assist in his return. Unknowingly, in his absence from Destiny, Miraak would force the Nordic heroes, being unable to defeat Alduin, to use an Elder Scroll to send the World Eater into the future, and merely delay his return. This event would be included in the Prophecy of the Dragonborn, whose final sentence states, "The World Eater wakes, and the wheel turns upon the last Dragonborn." This individual would do what Miraak did not. They would slay Alduin, fighting him in Sovngarde and sending his soul to Aetherius. Miraak's return to Tamriel would become threatened with the appearance of the last Dragonborn. However, in his attempt to remove this threat, he would make a mistake, sending his cultists to kill the last Dragonborn. These cultists seek out the false Dragonborn, and as expected, the Dovahkiin easily takes care of the worshippers, killing them, with the engagement only provoking the hero, who, after destroying Alduin in Sovngarde, would venture to Solstheim to investigate this other Dragonborn, and seek out the hidden knowledge of Hermaeus Mora. Miraak's influence over the people of Solstheim had risen significantly by the time the last Dragonborn arrives in Solstheim. As when you ask the citizens of the island if they know of Miraak, most will answer, saying that they have heard of the name, but cannot quite tell you where they know it from. Upon the player coming across the first Black Book, they will encounter Miraak in Apocrypha, who makes it clear that he does not doubt your capabilities and achievements as a Dragonborn, unlike his followers. The last Dragonborn would listen to the guidance of Mora, just as Miraak had done, and upon learning the first part of the Bend Will's Shout, begins to cleanse the Allmaker's stones spread across Solstheim, reducing Miraak's influence over the people. Hermaeus Mora, being omnipresent in his realm, knew of Miraak's plans to escape him, and so would assist the last Dragonborn in stopping him, teaching him what he taught Miraak in the hopes of replacing him with this new Dragonborn. Upon entering Apocrypha, the last Dragonborn would use the Bend Will's Shout, taught to him by Hermaeus Mora, using it to tame Sarautar, Miraak's dragon, then flying to the highest point of Apocrypha, where the two Dragonborn would confront each other.
And so the first Dragonborn beats the last Dragonborn at the summit of Apocrypha. No doubt, just as Hermaeus Mora intended. He is a fickle master, you know. But now I will be free of him. My time in Apocrypha is over. You are here in your full power, and thus subject to my full power. You will die, and with the power of your soul, I will return to Solstheim and be master of my own fate once again.
And so, the two would engage in a battle of the ages, between two Dragonborns. Blood would be spilled, and the Thu'um would echo, reverberating throughout the vast library of Apocrypha, teaching all who reside there of the true power a Dragonborn can wield. And throughout this battle, these two individuals would become engrossed in a song, with kine on their breath and the ethereal aspect of dragons enshrouding them. And throughout this dance, as Miraak grew weaker, he would call upon his dragons under the influence of Bend Will and would sing to them, Zil, Los, Didu, your soul is mine. Miraak was able to demand the soul of each dragon, and the dragons, with each of their souls mindless in opposing his will, would be forced to relinquish their very souls in appeasement to Miraak, feeding his life essence and revitalizing him. However, despite Miraak's greatest attempts at being victorious, the last Dragonborn would endure, until eventually it was clear that Mora's champion would not be triumphant. It was in this moment that Hermaeus Mora would intervene, not to save Miraak this time, however, instead ensuring his death, as a dark, grotesque tentacle would arise from the inked waters that plagued the realm, impaling his chest and lifting him up to see the infinite, ever-changing green skies of Apocrypha, reminding him, for the last time, nothing could be hidden from the one who knows.
Did you think to escape me, Miraak? You can hide nothing from me here. No matter. I have found a new Dragonborn to serve me.
And that would be the end of this individual's story, a character who was quite possibly one of the most powerful individuals in history, as well as perhaps the oldest, living to over 4,000 years old. This Dragonborn, who strayed from the convoluted path of destiny, was tempted by the whispers from the Prince of Knowledge, convinced that he could elude the watchful gaze of the Great Eye, and attempt to escape the inescapable. Destiny would follow him over the errors, until eventually he would face the one who would succeed him, both as Dragonborn and as the champion of Apocrypha, meeting his demise at the summit of Apocrypha. And with that, we conclude the story of Miraak, one of the more fascinating characters in the Elder Scrolls universe. Thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to support the channel, and feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts on the topic below.